Shema, Yashala, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Achad, Shema, Yashala, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Achad, Shema, Yashala, Yahweh, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Achad, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shai, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shai, Barak Yahweh, Barak Yahweh Shai, Bahashon Hakudash, over the double understrike of the apostles and other bishops of great millstone who well. I also want to say peace and blessings as well as health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Alright, and today I want to go into my first installment, which I will willing it will be the first of several, if not many. Alright, the first of a few. The first installment entitled The Fallacies Within Feminism. Alright, the fallacies within feminism. And once you go into the word fallacy, it goes back to the Latin fallacia, which means deception, alright, deceit. Alright, because if you look at, like I said, the freedictionary.com at the definition of fallacy, it goes into like the errors within an argument. Basically, underlying beliefs that are in error. All right, for example, a fallacy within Christianity is that the Lord loves everybody, God loves everybody. That's a fallacy. All right, look at the planet Earth. All right, or what's another fallacy? That all you have to do is pray over your food and you're good. That's a fallacy within Christianity. The way you know it's a fallacy is what that fallacy has engendered. Look at the health crisis of our people. And one of the first things the doctor tells them when they're at the peak of their health crisis is to let go of basically pork, you know. But like I said, fallacies are underlying errors, all right, within a belief, underlying beliefs that cause you to err in your way, all right. So going back to this installment, the fallacies within feminism, all right. According to the Bible, all right, there are fallacies, all right, within this event that happened in America called feminism, all right, which feminism, all right, brought about this women's sexual revolution, all right. Really, feminism was set up by the CIA, all right. In one way, it was to destroy the family, all right. One of the main agents within the CIA, or that worked for the CIA, was Gloria Steinfeld. You gonna pronounce her name correctly? Hey, and she was set up basically to encourage women to work against their men, all right, to be liberated from that domicile structure and go into the corporate world as a servant. All right, but what I wanted to go into, all right, within this first installment, all right, I be willing is edifying, is the life before marriage. All right, the fallacies within feminism, all right, that there's a life before marriage. Now, according to the scriptures, marriage is basically sex. When you have sex, that's marriage. It has nothing to do with the grandiose wedding. It has nothing to do with paperwork. The paperwork came about around the 1500s, all right? But the thing that made a woman your wife was sex. It tells you in Genesis that Isaac went into Rebekah's tent and he knew her and she became his wife. And what does it mean to know he had sex with her? All right. So one of the fallacies, the underlying beliefs within a woman, a modern woman's mindset, is that, you know, starting with most likely college, I just say college, all right, that she could begin her sexual endeavors, all right, and then later on in life settle down and get married. That's a fallacy within feminism, that a woman can have a life before she, quote unquote, gets married to the state. All right. So what happens is she turns 18, 19, she enrolls in college, and scripturally speaking, she plays the harlot. In a lot of cases, the woman plays the harlot. And a lot of so-called black women have a mindset that, well, I don't have time to find a man. I don't have time to find a husband. I'm in school, all right? Because she's taught that from probably the day she's born, that her career, her life is college. Her career, her life is finding a good paying job. And you ignore all the biological directions that your body is making an effort to take you in, all right, which is in alignment with the scriptures. All right, you ignore all those things to put all your energy into this career. All right, but it's not as though you're practicing celibacy. It's not as though you're being celibate or abstinent. You're having sex. So really, you're getting married multiple times. You're playing the harlot while you have within your mindset, your feminist mindset, that I could find a husband later in life. But the man who took the man took your virginity. It's really when you found your husband. Hey, shalom to you brothers and sisters. Shalom to you elders. All right. Shalom to you elder. All right. That's a fallacy within feminism, is that you can have a life before you settle down and get married. You can have multiple sexual partners under the guise of being single and free. All right. Before you settle down and get married. All right. You can have a bachelorette lifestyle the day or before you settle down and get married, man. So one of the fallacies of feminism is that you can go a space, at least a decade, of really being a whore, all right, under the guise of being single and nobody having a ring in your finger before you actually settle down and get married to the state. That's a fallacy. That's a error. All right, that's deceit. And that's the trickery of the devil, man. It tells you in the scriptures, one of the scriptures is 1 Corinthians 7, that if a woman reached the flower of her age, what does it mean, the flower of her age? When she hits puberty. Once she reached puberty, then you may say, well, that means when she's 12. According to the scriptures, when she's 12, she is of a marriageable age. Now, it wasn't until recently, when I say recently, I want to say 30 years, 30 years, especially I want to say in Mississippi, the age of consent was like 14. We've been on this planet Earth for 6,000 years. It wasn't until the last, I don't know, 70, 80 years to where you have to be 18 to be considered an adult. All right? But you have to understand, men were marrying women when they had been going through starting puberty for ages. All right? Now, let me give my disclaimer. We're not giving no consent to mess with no 12-year-old, no 14-year-old. All right? 18 is the legal age in this society. The scripture says what? Obey every ordinance of man. This is for information use only. Okay? But what happened is society makes women in school, they get married. It's like some type of child abuse, some type of Handmaid's Tale situation, all right, in the eyes of the public. But women put their daughters on birth control in middle school, high school, fathers, college. So there's no shame in a quote-unquote underage woman being sexually active as long as she's on birth control in middle school, high school. But there's a shame in saying, okay, she could get married at 18. There's a shame in that, because there's this notion that she's missing out on her youth. One of the fallacies, one of the errors in feminism is that you can have an age of whoredom before you settle down and find a husband. But you've already found your husband. You found multiple husbands. An error in your belief within feminism is that you're selling yourself short if you find a man at 18. Now, I'm saying 18 because that's a society age of consent as an adult. You know, some states may say 17 or whatever. People look at men like Marcus Houston. people looked at him funny or looked at him weird because he was like 40 and married a 19-year-old. Meanwhile, you had Lawrence Fishburne's daughter about 12 years ago. She turned 18 and turned to adult film, man. And she was literally getting hammered by a man that was like 45, 50. You see the contradictions within this cultural construct? I think Kenan, from Kenan and Kel, his wife committed adultery, all right, with one of his employees. But she ended up leaving him for one of his employees, all right? He ended up getting a woman that was like 18, 19. And people look at him funny because he's 40. Meanwhile, nobody looks at women that's 18, 19 that's getting hammered by 35, 40-year-olds, man. That's one of the trending, themes, for lack of better words, within the adult film industry is the 18-year-old is getting hammered. But if you say no, I'm gonna put her, that's my wife. This is gonna be my wife, or this is the woman I'm dealing with, and you're 40, and she's 18, 19, 20, people say, yeah. But they're already legalizing pedophilia. You see? It's not natural for a woman to settle down. What the fuck is settling down? Now that's true, and then they still demand that, you know, you're the main provider. They still have this white picket fence fantasy of a husband later on in life. For example, a woman could be 22. She could have a dude she dealing with. She done already had 2 kids, the son and the daughter per se, but she still fantasizes about an ideal husband later on in life. But really, the dude she had the children with, that's really her husband. There's no such thing as a boyfriend. There's no such thing as a baby daddy. There's no such thing as a situationship, a fucking relationship. All right? Those are little bugs of society, little errors. Or you have a computer that has malware bites, little viruses in the computer. Those are little viruses in society that corrode the society, man. There's no life before marriage because marriage is your life. 1 Timothy 5:14, roughly paraphrasing. And if a brother could put it on the comment board for edification, Babaka Shah. I would therefore that the young women marry, which marry means to have sex with one man, and that's your husband. I would therefore that the young women marry, bear children. What's the divorce rate for the so-called black woman in America? It's like 70%. It was quoted that in the state of New York, when it comes to the so-called black people, which are the tribe of Judah, all right, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, the death rate is higher than the birth rate because it's a liberal state. They get abortions like it's nothing. All right, the water, brother, the water's a Zaquan. I would therefore that the young women marry, bear children, guide the house. Now the ideal of keeping a so-called black woman in the house is like, oh, you're Mr. from Color Purple. You know? But it said, I would therefore that the young women marry, roughly paraphrasing because I can't read and drive, I would therefore that the young women marry, bear children, guide the house, you know, give none occasion of the adversary to speak reproachfully, all right? But marry, bear children, guide the house, find a husband, have sons and daughters, have his sons and daughters. Another fallacy in feminism. It's not your little ones. Those little ones don't belong to you. All right, we could go on and on about this, but I'm gonna stick to the first installment title. All right, that there's a life before marriage. There's no life before marriage because marriage is your life. You got liberated. All he did was transfer the servants. All Esau Edom did was transfer the servants. You went from being a servant under your husband to a servant under Esau Edom, a corporate servant, an employee is a Latin way. I want to say it's a Latin way of saying a servant, or not Latin, but a sophisticated way of saying servant. All right, all right. It's a form of servitude, man. All right, you have to set your alarm clock. You have tasks. You have tasks. All right, you have duties. You have assignments. And you get disciplined. You got verbals, write-ups, suspensions, and then because you're a property, you're a woman. You deal with sexual harassment. All right. So let's say you do have a man and he's working, and you're on a different job and you're working. There's men hitting on you. There's men flirting with you. You might be a whore. You might be committing adultery. There's a man that's trying, every time he see you, he plants seed inside your head. You know this shit. They got some called a work husband. And one of the demonic errors in society is that word is looked at lightly, man. I hate nigga culture, man. The fallacies within feminism is that there's a life before marriage, man. And the life usually consists of whoredom. That you have men that you literally are having sex with, but under the pretext of being single, they're not your husband. A man naturally wants respect from his woman. Her rebuttal might be, well, you didn't put a ring on my finger. You didn't walk me down the aisle. I'm single till I'm married. A lot of women are low-key whores because their logic and the female friend's logic is, girl, he didn't marry you. You don't owe him nothing. So she's sucking dick behind his back. You know? That's what happens when you enter into Babylon the Great, man. And women have really been indoctrinated into believing that they are selling themselves short if they don't find a husband once they become classified as adults in this society. All right? They really feel that they are selling themselves, and their mamas encourage that shit. Their dads encourage that shit. Being a homesteader is a fucking skill. And you're gonna find that out very soon, that being a homesteader, meaning you can live self-sufficiently off your home. Meaning that depending on where you live, you might have a patio garden. If you have a house, if your man has a house, you might actually have a backyard garden. Now that's not to encourage women who are listening to quit your jobs, because we're yet this day in our captivity, so you have to bring some to the table. But you have to divest yourself of these feminist beliefs that you're selling yourself short if you don't give over your youth to a fucking career, which marriage is your career. Being a woman is a career. It's a craft to being a woman. It's a craft to being a wife, to bear children, to guide the house, to be a homemaker, to cook food from ingredients from staples, to meal prep, to have a laundry day. All right, a lot of your kids are dirty, man. Your kids are neglected because your fat face or your skinny face or your stinking face is too busy buried in social media like a fucking 10-year-old, man. All right. Meanwhile, your sons and daughters got dirty diapers or they're just negligent. And the way you know it's disorder in the homes, when your sons and daughters are always out in the streets, man. Why you have these little 14, 15-year-olds always out in the streets? Jake always out in the streets. That sons lie wait. That sons lie faint. They lies a bull in a wild, they lies a bull in a net in the corners, man. That strong man has been taking out his own house. Welfare was a war tactic, but that's another topic. I'm gonna stick to the topic. One of the fallacies in feminism is that a woman is supposed to have a quote-unquote life before she settles down to get married at around 30 to 40. By the time you're 30 to 40, your eggs are drying up. Most older women who show you, when they get with you, they show you a picture of them when they were like 22. And it's like, damn, I missed out on the best version of you. Because now you're in your 30s, you're a little heavier, you might have some children, and it's like, damn, But feminism wants you to believe that when she was 22, she was still a little girl, that her sexual behavior was excused because she wasn't mature yet. All right? That it was okay for her to play the field while she was in college because she wasn't grown yet. Now women say when they're 40, okay, I'm grown. You were grown when you hit puberty. Disclaimer, once again, we're not messing with no 12-year-olds. These are just facts. And a lot of westernized Israelites can't take this information. Meanwhile, go teach at a middle school. Go substitute teach at a middle school right now. You're going to see some wild, horny 12, 13, 14-year-olds with very explicit verbiage and very explicit conduct, man. It's called order, my nigga. All right? I would therefore that the young woman marry, bear children, guide the house. Let me give another disclaimer. You shouldn't have an intention on building a family here in Babylon. So if you have a woman and you're dealing with her, you're supposed to know the scriptures, and y'all supposed to know the scriptures, but you also have context. It's not wise to have a bunch of sons and daughters because we have to work to pay bills. We have to work to pay bills. So most of us don't have our own acre. We don't have our own acres of land, our own estates. See, back in the old country, we had estates passed down to us, or you may have been an indentured servant, like the elder apostle Tahar went into briefly. You might have been an indentured servant for 7 years, and you came out with wealth. Then you had a wife, and she played that role to bear children, guide the house, marry you, of course, and you didn't have to worry about bills. That's a hustle for the bankers, for you to work to pay your mortgage or your rent, or you have to work to pay your light bill, all right? So it's not convenient. And then we're coming into the time of Jacob's trouble, so it's going to be more inconvenient to move as a pilgrim with children. Secondly, your woman, it tells you that she that is my enemy. So a woman can go to say, she could go against you and go to say, now you could be on child support for three, 4 children. So it's not wise to get, have babies by multiple women, or, become polygamous and build a family off polygamy, so to speak. Nobody can stop you from multiplying or, get more than one woman, 2 women or whatever, but you shouldn't have this mindset, I'm gonna build a nation like this. Not here. You see? But you have to know the truth. So once again, I'm going to wrap it up, cycling back to the fallacy within feminism is that women were taught they can have a life, quote unquote, before they settle down. Now that puts you in a substandard position where you're, metaphorically speaking, paying a used car, a new car price. You're gonna pay a new car price for a used vehicle. You pay a new car price for a used vehicle. So you're gonna put all this money down on a wedding reception, a ring, a honeymoon. These things typically cost $10,000 all together on a minimum. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for a woman who's not even a virgin to settle down with you. And it's now statistically, where it may not even last, because 50% of modern marriages end in divorce. 50% of modern marriages end in divorce, and 80 to 90% of divorces are initiated by women. And if I'm not mistaken, 30 to 40% of married men who get paternity tested are not the father. Generally, because the women they've married were not virgins, or they weren't psychologically virgins, because even if she's a virgin physically, because she's westernized, her psyche isn't content with one man, so she has that curiosity within her. And because women were taught they can have a life of freedom and playing the field and being basically sexually promiscuous before they settle down and get married through the state, that they become sexually discontent, all right, when they actually get married through the state to a man. They have all this defilement within them. So they'll never be content because a modern mind is never content. All right? I read in the article that marriage lasted the longest. This is like the 50s or whatever, before feminism, before women's sexual revolution. Because within feminism, you had a terrorist attack against our people, against men, called women's sexual revolution. All right, that was your potential wife playing a whore before she got with you. And that ended the longevity in marriage, because before women's sexual revolution, marriage lasted the longest when women were virgins before they got married. And then marriage lasted the second longest when women had 1 or 2 sexual partners before they got quote unquote married. But women, the marriage rate went downhill drastically when women had a life of whoredom before they got married. And the Zaquan said most of these marriages are sexless. Shake my fucking head, man. That's horrible, man. You're supposed to enjoy sex. And then men, we're polluted because they gave us something called PORN. So a lot of times your sexual health is diminished by the time you do get a woman. So, you know, you might start watching that stuff on the internet 10, 11, 12, but they didn't give that general surgeon warning that this stuff might cause erectile dysfunction. All right? Then women, the fact that they're working, they're tired too. They working 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, because they basically giving all their energy to the man, so to speak. So now a lot of times when they get home, they genuinely tired sometimes, man. And you tired. Or y'all desensitized to stimulation. So now, like, she ain't really, you know what I mean, into it like that, man. Or she may have had so many experiences, she can't help but to compare you to different men's penis sizes, different men's stamina, you know? This country, this matrix, has ruined our people. It has ruined our women, all right? But going back to the topic, man, that's a deception, a cultural deceit for a woman to believe that she's supposed to have a life of exploring and dating and finding the right guy and taking her time, all right, before she quote unquote settled down, typically 10 years later, at least. All right, should not that land be greatly polluted? All right, that's a fallacy, man. She should get married as soon as she should find a man, all right, as soon as she becomes an adult, at least by this society standard. All right. Hey, but with that, you know, I hope you brothers and sisters were edified. Once again, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Rashad by Hashem Rakakudash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Abba, Abba, Kamal, Shalom, Shalom. I'm going to quote this scripture from the Zaquan, GMS, North Carolina 777. You know, you brothers can log off. It's all good. Do not prostitute thy daughter to cause her to be a whore, lest the land fall to whoredom and the land become full of wickedness. Kind. Like her being on college campus like that, you know, that's the modern version of that. Women should even be around men in public schools, man. You know? 1 Timothy 5:14, I would therefore that the younger women marry, which is to have a man, all right? It has nothing to do with certificates. Bear children, sons and daughters. Guide the house. Your domicile is the house. Your element is the house. That's why you could misplace something in your house and you know, like, where's my socks or where's my cologne? Or have you seen my bracelet? And usually they already know where it is. It's their element. Women are really good. Typically, women are really good at shopping, you know, buying groceries for the family. They're really good at knowing where everything is in the house. They're really good at functioning while the babies are making all type of crazy noises and stuff. But we get in that element and we kind of like fucking lose it, man. We check out. Like, fuck. But a man, a traditional man, is nothing for him to work to take care of his family. That's nothing, man. All right? So one of the things that has to be reiterated is that a woman's element is really her home. And home is not supposed to be a prison. It's just your element. That's your work office. That's your workspace. You know? That's where you soar in, man. You know? But like I said, with that, I hope you brothers and sisters were edified. To the next time, shalom.